I work at McDonald's. I had a customer throw his burger at my face at 1 o'clock this morning because his pickle was not in the center of the freakin bun. What's the meanest thing a customer has ever done to you and how did you react? When working hotel front desk on the beach, we had to close the pool that night. City ordinance due to lack of 24-hour lifeguard. So if you rented a poolside room, you had to stay off the pool deck after dark. Night swimming could, and had, get the hotel fined. Well, this middle-aged woman was in a group that rented a poolside room. Non-smoking. Night falls. I go around the pool deck, locking things up. She's on the deck. Smoking. I tell her the deck's closed, and she needs to leave. She asked to finish her smoke. I say sure, and lock things up so when she leaves, the deck will be locked up behind her. Well, about an hour later, I get a noise complaint. People being loud on the pool deck. Which no one should be on. I go out, and the woman has propped open the door to the deck. She's been joined with the rest of her group, and they have a stereo going while they smoke and drink and generally carry on. I tell them the deck's closed. They have to leave. I'm polite, but firm, and tell them it's illegal for them to be out there. This is where the woman gets pissed. And man, does she get pissed. Because she wants to smoke. And she rented a non-smoking room. And if I don't let her smoke on the pool deck, she's going to smoke in her room. I tell her that if she wants to smoke in her room, I can't stop her, but the hotel will charge a $200 cleaning fee if she does. She doesn't like that. Claims she is going to stay out by the pool. So I tell her I'd have to call the cops if that happened. She gives in, and goes in her room. I think that's the end of it. Foolish me. About an hour later, she storms up to the front desk, obviously intoxicated. She is yelling and screaming at me for violating her right to smoke. Claims the cleaning fee is illegal, and she's called the cops on me. She starts banging on the front desk, claiming I'm being sexist and getting off on spraying my testosterone all over the place. Keep in mind, I'm the only staff in the building at this point. I start getting noise complaints from people that can hear her from their rooms. Her friends come out and cheer her on. 2 or 3 guys, with open beers in their hands, encouraging her. This goes on for most of an hour. Then the cops show up. She actually did call the cops. She starts yell at them to arrest me for some unclear reason. The cops are cool, but they have no idea what they've walked in on. They try to calm her down, and figure out what she wants. I can't explain anything because when I try, she starts yelling over me. Things are getting even more heated. The cops try to get my side of the story and ask the woman to hush for a minute. And that's where she ducks up. Because in her drunken stupor, she decides that it's a good idea to scream sexist pig at an armed and obviously frustrated cop. And then she slaps him. Fast enough to make your head spin. She is subdued, handcuffed, and stuffed in a squad car. We don't see her again. TLDR, a screaming woman bitched at me for almost an hour, then got arrested by the cops she called on me. I used to manage a hotel years ago. I feel your pain. My own story involves a group of Babe Ruth baseball kids, 13 to 14, and their families. They had about 15 rooms total. Well, these little shit kids decided to go around at 2 in the morning and pound on people's doors. Obviously, we start to get complaints at the front desk. I wasn't on at the time, but the night guy calls me up and says he's pretty sure we're about to have a huge problem. I decide to head in. As I get to the hotel, I see a pack of these little shits jumping from the 2nd floor balconies onto cars below. A 13-14-year-old kid isn't a featherweight, and they were clearly causing damage to these car roofs. Then as I pull up, I see them picking up the rocks that surround the property and throwing them at the cars, but not the windows. I'm just thinking, what the duck? Then as I stop my car and I'm about to get out, I hear my own car struck with something. As I get out, I see the kids scatter. I go in, and the night guys tells me it's been awful, the kids are unruly and the parents refuse to be of any help. I print out a list of the group room numbers, and then go knock on each of their doors. I introduce myself as the manager and explain the situation politely to each of the parents. They all respond that it's not my kid, they've been in here the entire time. I ask them all to please step out into the hall. As they do, I inform them that if the responsible parties do not step forward, the entire group will be kicked out. No one steps forward. They think I'm bluffing. They think that if I kick them all out, that we will have to refund their money, which isn't the case. I wait 2 minutes in silence. No one steps forward. I then inform them that they have 1 hour to pack their things and vacate the premises. If after 1 hour they are still there, the police will be called. I go down to my office and wait 1 hour. None of them leave. I call the police. Police show up, we go knock on doors again. Shit hits the fan. They are all yelling at me, claiming innocence, that I'm not being fair, that they'll be good. Where are they going to go at 3 in the morning? Police officers turn to me and ask me what I want done. They can go willingly, or I guess you can drag them out in cuffs. It doesn't matter to me. All it took was one hothead to tell the police to duck off and slam the door in his face. I open the door with my magic key. Police arrest the guy in front of his family. Everyone else leaves peacefully. What happened to the owners of the damaged cars? Was there any compensation given from the hotel or the parents of the kids? We notified the guests of the damage in the morning before they left. Our insurance at the hotel ended up paying for all the damage, which was a few thousand. We could have sued the families, but after meeting with the hotel owner, independent owner, not corporate owned, we decided the best course of action was to have our insurance pay out for the damage and drop it. My own car was damaged, which was also paid for by the hotel's insurance. Every single one of the people we kicked out that night tried to do a credit card chargeback. Anyone that has gone through this process knows that the chargeback is almost always granted. We got the notices for every person, and we fought every single one. Armed with the police report, each and every one of those chargebacks ended up being denied. I was working drive-thru one day, when a woman ordered a large orange Hi-C. She gets to the window, and I see there are 3 other people laughing pretty hard. I take her money and give her the drink. About 2 seconds later I hear, fire in the hole, and see a large orange grenade flying at me. Somehow I ninja'd the pop back into her Audi. She even had the nerve to ask my manager for her money back. Edit, I've seen a few people ask how I managed to ninja the Hi-C back into her car. I honestly don't know how I managed it, but as I was turning back to the register to take the order of a car that just gotten to the speaker, I saw the drink flying at me. I somehow managed to reach out with my left arm and redirect the drink back out the window and into her car. The lid came off and it exploded everywhere. Needless to say, she didn't get her money back, and was told less than kindly to leave. Customer put a dirty diaper on a plate wet with beer, and put their pizza in it because it didn't have enough Italian sausage, then walked it back to us and dropped it in the fryer. 6 gallons of oil gone, and had to sanitize everything extra clean tonight, because the dirty diaper exploded. Got off around 3:30 here, it's now 5:46. When I was working at McDonald's, I was in drive-thru, covering for a minute for one of the employees to go to the washroom. The customer in my drive-thru started complaining, and then he flicked his cigarette at me, and he got ashes in my face a bit even. I was about to hand him his drink and by reflex I threw it at him. I was the only manager there at the time, so I didn't get in trouble. I went through a McDonald's drive-thru once, and the place was slammed inside and out. After ordering, I was asked to park next to the curb and someone would bring my order to me as soon as possible. A girl walks up to my car visibly shaken, and as she approaches my car to hand me my food she says, "Please don't slap me." I said, "What?" She said the last lady she delivered the food yelled at her and slapped her across the face because the food took so long. I had a woman throw a foot-long Subway sub at my head because I wouldn't give it to her free. The story: this woman sent her 7-year-old into the store to get the sandwich with a note listing the ingredients she wanted on it. At the cash, I rang in the sandwich, and the little girl passed me one filled out sub club card, used to be good for a 6-inch sandwich with purchase of a 28-ounce drink, and just stood there. I cleared the cash and rang it in again, discounting half the sub and charging on a drink. I told the girl how much, and she just stood there looking at me. I asked what was wrong, and she said that her mom never gave her any money. I asked if her mom was outside and if she could go get her. The girl left and came back and crying and getting towed behind a raging mammoth of a woman who was demanding to talk to my manager about how she was being disrespected. I explained to her the usage of the card and pointed out where the details were printed on the card. She screamed, reached over the counter, grabbed the sandwich and then threw it at my head. My manager later saw the security footage and called me laughing his ass off about it. I was working at a gas station a few years back, in graveyard shift. It was around 1 AM, when a really heavy guy walks into the store with a brown bag on his head. He comes up to the counter and shows me the brick he has in his hand. He says that if I don't give him the money in the register he will beat me to death with the brick. Now I am a pretty big dude, so I start to smile at him. This sets him off and he chucks the brick at me, but it flies right past me to the side. He then runs out of the store. I call the cops and the manager. I end up getting fired for not just giving him the money. I used to work at Applebee's. One of my tables was an elderly couple, and what I assumed was their granddaughter. They ordered their food, steak, salad, and chicken fingers. In the kitchen, a random server, let's call him Matt, was running people's food because everyone was busy. Well, the table next to mine belonged to a server named Ashley. Matt accidentally ran Ashley's food to my table. He asked the old couple if they were the table that had ordered a chicken penne pasta, onion rings, and a chocolate dessert, all of which were completely different than what they had ordered. They said yes. Then they proceeded to yell at the manager about how wrong their food was, and how bad of a server I was. I hate people. I worked in retail a bit, my senior year of high school and sometime after. I once had a customer that I was ringing up rudely ask me if I had gone to high school, and said I was probably a dropout, towards the end of a transaction. To which I just gave an exaggerated shrug, gave a dumb smile, and crossed my eyes as I handed her her bag. McDonald's always seems to bring out the best in people. I used to be a manager at one right off the interstate. This was before they went to 24 hours or open late, so we closed at midnight. Around 11:45, we have a family come in. 3 adults, 1 child that looked to be about 7 or 8. When we saw them come in, we were all naturally dismayed, as we had already started cleaning everything for closing, but we still served them because, well, it was our job and we were still technically open. When I hand them their food, I already had it bagged up, so they'd take the hint that we were about to close, but they just took the bags of food to a booth, sat down, and started eating. Okay, no problem, maybe they've been driving a good bit of the day and just needed a few to relax. That's understandable. Midnight comes around, and I go lock the doors. As I go to lock the doors nearest to them, I tell them as politely as possible that the store's closed and we needed them to finish their meal as soon as they could, so we could finish our closing routine. 12:10 rolls around, and they're still eating. At this point, I need them to leave because I could get into trouble if one of my bosses or the owner decided to drive by. They were weird like that. 12:20 rolls around. Most nights we were done and out of there by then, yet these people are still taking their sweet time. It seems as if they are doing it at this point just to be donks, and I'm starting to lose patience. I go up to them, explain why I needed them to leave, and ask them as nicely as I can to finish and leave. It's been a while, so I can't remember what they exactly said, but the gist of it was, "Duck you, we're customers, we'll leave when we want." I take a deep breath, count to 5, and calmly inform them that if they're not gone within 5 minutes, I'd have to call the police. This sets them off. They start cussing at me, call the duckin' police, I don't care, and so on. I felt bad for the little girl there, as you could see it in her eyes she was scared and her family was acting like assholes. So while they're mid-rant, I turn around, walk back behind the counter, and wait for 5 minutes to be up. Right at 5 minutes, that poor little girl came up to the counter and said, "Please don't call the cops, we're leaving." My heart went out to this girl, but I could see that her family was finally leaving. But yeah, duck in McDonald's, man.